friends, and welcome to today's episode on Grainificent. In today's episode, I will talk about the life and legacy of photographer William Klein. So if you like this type of videos, please remember to hit the like button. It shows the YouTube algorithm that these videos are worthy of showing to others. And hit the subscribe button. It shows me I make helpful and interesting videos. So without further ado, let's get into the video. There are artists who polish the world, who sand it down until it gleams with perfection. And then there was William Klein. If Paolo Roversi, that we spoke about 2 weeks ago, was a whisper, William Klein was a shout. Raw, joyful, electric. He didn't tiptoe into photography. He crashed through the front door with a grin and a lens that didn't care for permission. The rules? He read them once, then tore them up, and laughed as the pieces fell like confetti. He called photography a game, a joke, a fight, and in that rebellion he made magic. Not the polite kind of magic, the loud kind, the street kind, the kind born from the thrum of a crowd, the gleam of sweat, the blur of motion. Klein's camera didn't wait for moments to arrive. It chased them down, cornered them, and clicked just as they tried to escape. He once said, "Be yourself. I much prefer seeing something, even if it's clumsy, that doesn't look like somebody else's work." And that was the essence of Klein. Fiercely original, defiantly imperfect, brilliantly alive. He wasn't born a photographer. He became one out of frustration, out of curiosity, out of a stubborn refusal to be boxed in. He painted first, bold, geometric canvases, then stumbled into photography, or maybe it stumbled into him. Either way, the collision changed everything. Paris gave him space. New York gave him fire. He was raised in one, but haunted and hunted the other with his camera like it was a weapon. A weapon against boredom, against stiffness, against the sanitized version of the world he was told to accept. The world is going to pieces, he once said, and people like Adams and Weston are photographing rocks. He didn't want rocks. He wanted noise. He wanted teeth. He wanted the rush of a city street right in your face, not framed neatly, but messy, unpredictable, wild. His style? Some called it ugly, others called it genius. He didn't care what you called it, as long as it made you feel something. His photos were often out of focus, grainy, tilted, too close, too chaotic, but they breathed, they danced, they punched, and they lived. To Klein, perfection was a lie. Beauty was in the energy, in the chance, in the mistake. He once said, "I didn't relate to European photography. It was too poetic and anecdotal for me. The kinetic quality of New York, the kids, dirt, madness. I tried to find a photographic style that could say all of that." And he did. He didn't ask permission to take your picture. He took it, fast, and moved on. There was no posing, no flattery, no safety, just raw encounter, the kind that burns a little because it's real. He brought fashion out of the studio and onto the street. Models wove through traffic, stood in the rain, faced the chaos instead of hiding from it. The result? Fashion images that felt less like marketing and more like myth. He turned the glamour industry on its head because to him, style had nothing to do with polish. It had everything to do with attitude. Klein was a contradiction. He loved cinema, he loved comics, he loved noise, and he brought all of it into his work. He believed in blur over clarity, movement over symmetry, instinct over instruction. He once said, "Anything goes." That was my motto. He once said, "Anything goes." That was my motto. And he meant it. He didn't just document cities. He attacked them with wide-angle lenses, with sarcasm, with affection, with rebellion. His New York was not the skyline. It was the street corner, the kid flipping you off, the man yelling into the wind, the woman walking like she owned the sidewalk and the universe too. He found poetry in anger, in chaos, in the middle of things, where life actually happens. And yet, in all that chaos, there was vision, intent, design. He wasn't careless. He was fearless. There's the difference. Every frame was a gamble, a risk, a confrontation with the real. He said, "I came from the outside. The rules of photography don't interest me. There were things you could do with a camera that you couldn't do with a brush. I was an outsider, and that suited me fine." He made books, films, art, provocations. He never settled into one category. He refused to be defined. His work was political, satirical, angry, funny, and always human. He turned the camera into a mirror, not a flattering one, but an honest one. One that caught you mid-blink, mid-shout, mid-existence. And you couldn't look away, because in every image you felt it, the pulse of life, unfiltered. He once described his method as shoot first, figure it out later. And somehow the figuring out never dulled the spontaneity. Even when he planned, it felt impulsive. Even when he directed, it felt accidental. That was his gift. The chaos was crafted, but it felt like it just exploded in front of you. Klein didn't ask you to like his work. He dared you to feel it. He didn't want to fit in. He wanted to break out. He didn't worship beauty. He interrogated it. He didn't look for silence. He looked for the loud truth. He once said, "Life is good and crazy. That's the way it should be." And that was how he lived, how he worked, how he saw. As time passed, photography changed, the world changed. But Klein didn't bend with it. He didn't clean up his act or soften his edges. He stayed punk. He stayed defiant, stayed loud. Even as digital took over, he stuck with the raw, the real, the rebel instinct. He said, "The first half of the 20th century was formal. The second half was expressive. I wanted to explode the image." And he did. Not with violence, but with vision, with clarity, not of focus, but of spirit. He showed us cities not as skylines, but as organisms, alive, sweating, pulsing, screaming. He showed us fashion not as fantasy, but as theater, wild, spontaneous, absurd. He showed us people not as symbols, but as beings, flawed, complex, vivid. And through it all, he laughed. There was always humor in his work, not the soft kind, the sharp kind, the kind that sees the madness of the world and grins anyway. Now, long after his voice has quieted, his images still shout. They still provoke, still dance, still confront. They remind us that photography doesn't have to be polite, doesn't have to be technical, doesn't have to be safe. It can be messy, it can be angry, it can be joyful, it can be alive. That's what William Klein gave us. Not a gallery, but a riot. Not a career, but a collision. And in every frame, we see the challenge he left behind. Don't just look. Don't just shoot. Engage, risk, rebel, make the frame burn. Because life isn't a still life. It's a storm. And Klein, he photographed the storm from the inside. If you liked this video, please remember to hit the like button. It shows the YouTube algorithm that this video is worthy of showing to others. And if you're interested in film photography related content, hit the subscribe button. It shows me I make helpful and interesting videos. And if you would like to help out with the YouTube channel, help me pump out more content, better content, then there's a donation link in the description down below. You could also help with the support button under the video. And if you would like more bang for your buck, you are welcome to look into channel memberships where from $1 a month, you can see all the videos I make before they go public. So thank you for watching, my friends. Take care and see you in the next episode.